You didn't go on any shopping sprees. You didn't buy anything crazy. You went to Walmart. You bought the same stuff you always buy. And somehow, you spent $40 more than last month. You checked your cart. Same items, same brands, same everything. But the total? Different. That wasn't a glitch. That wasn't bad luck. That was inflation. Working quietly in the background, shrinking what your money can do, while your life stays exactly the same. In Part A, we talked about what inflation is and where it comes from. If you haven't watched that yet, go watch it first. The link is in the description. But today we get personal. Today we talk about what inflation is doing to your rent, your groceries, your gas tank, your savings account, and the people who get absolutely crushed by it, and why nobody talks about them. And most importantly, we talk about what you can actually do about it with whatever money you have right now, because inflation doesn't wait, and neither should you. Real quick, because we're not going to waste your time. Inflation is when prices rise across the economy over time, which means your dollar buys less than it used to. Not because you're spending wrong, because the dollar itself got weaker. It comes in two flavors: demand pull, too many people chasing too few things, and cost push, when it simply costs more to make and move everything. The government measures it with the CPI, a giant monthly shopping basket of real American purchases. When that basket costs more than it did last year, that percentage difference is your inflation rate. A little inflation is normal, even healthy. The Federal Reserve actually aims for about 2% per year, but when it shoots past that, like the 9% Americans saw in June 2022, that's when things get painful. That's the foundation. Now let's build on it. Here's a question I want you to actually think about. Not just hear, think about. When was the last time you went grocery shopping and the total was exactly what you expected? Because if your answer is, I honestly can't remember, that's not a coincidence. That's a pattern, and it has a name. Let's walk through a typical American week, and let's see exactly where inflation shows up. You pull into the Walmart parking lot. You've got your list: eggs, bread, chicken, milk, pasta, the basics. Stuff you've been buying for years. Except, egg prices in America jumped over 70% in 2022 alone. A dozen eggs that cost $1.50 before suddenly cost nearly $4 in some states. Chicken breast, ground beef, cooking oil, all up significantly within the same period. Now imagine you're feeding a family of 4. Those small percentage jumps don't feel small anymore. They feel like someone quietly cut a hole in the bottom of your grocery bag, and a few dollars fall out every single trip. And here's the part that really stings. Your grocery list didn't get fancier. Your taste didn't get more expensive. The food got more expensive. And your paycheck? It probably didn't keep up. Think about your morning commute. You stop at the pump. You remember paying $2.50 a gallon not long ago. Now you're staring at $3.80, $4, or higher depending on where you live. That's not just the cost of a fill-up. That's the cost of everything that uses fuel to get to you. Trucks that deliver groceries, ships that bring goods from overseas, planes that carry packages. When gas prices spike, a ripple goes through the entire economy, and you feel it at every cash register, not just at the pump. Now here's the one that really hurts. Because groceries and gas, you can adjust. Buy the store brand, drive a little less. But rent? Rent in America surged dramatically after COVID. In some cities, Atlanta, Phoenix, Miami, rents jumped 30, 40, even 50% within just a couple of years. People who had stable housing suddenly found themselves squeezed out of their own neighborhoods. Not because they did anything wrong, because inflation hit housing hard and didn't look back. And unlike a loaf of bread, you can't swap rent for the generic version. So wages went up too, right? That should cancel it out? Here's the honest answer. Wages did rise during this period. But for most workers, they didn't rise fast enough. When inflation is running at 8% and your wage went up 4%, you got a raise on paper. In reality, you took a pay cut in the only way that matters, in what your money can actually buy. Picture a treadmill. Wages are you running. Inflation is the treadmill's speed. If the treadmill is going faster than you're running, you're sliding backwards, no matter how hard your legs are moving. Inflation doesn't just show up in headlines. It shows up in your cart, at the pump, in your lease, and on your pay stub, all at once. Now here's something most financial news will never say out loud. Inflation doesn't hit everyone the same way, not even close. The same 8% inflation rate that was uncomfortable for some people was absolutely devastating for others. And the reason why, once you understand it, will change how you see the entire system. Let's think about this from the ground up. Inflation is a percentage, a flat rate that applies to prices across the board. So why doesn't it feel flat to everyone? Because a percentage hits differently depending on where you start. Imagine someone earning $35,000 a year. After rent, utilities, groceries, and transportation, they have very little left over. Every dollar in their budget is already spoken for. When groceries go up 10%, there's no cushion to absorb it. They don't get to say, well, I'll just cut back on my investment contributions this month. There are no investment contributions. Every price increase comes directly out of what was already a tight budget. They eat less, they drive less, they go without. Now imagine someone who owns their home, has a stock portfolio, and a healthy savings account invested in things that tend to rise with inflation, like property, stocks, and commodities. When inflation rises, those assets often rise with it. Their home is worth more. Their investments grow. Yes, their groceries cost more too, but their wealth grew faster than their grocery grocery bill. In a strange, uncomfortable way, inflation made them richer. Same inflation rate, two completely different experiences. One person is squeezed from every direction with no escape valve. The other sees their assets appreciate while they pay a little extra at Whole Foods. It's like two people standing in the same rainstorm. One has an umbrella, a raincoat, and waterproof boots. The other has a thin t-shirt and is standing in a puddle. Same rain, completely different experience. This is also why fixed income earners, people on a set pension or social security, get hit especially hard. Their income doesn't adjust fast enough, if at all. Every percentage point of inflation is a direct cut to their real purchasing power, and they can't do anything to fight back. Inflation is not a flat tax, it's a weight, and the less you have, the heavier it feels. Everything we've talked about so far, 7%, 8%, 9% inflation, that's painful, but it's manageable. Now let me show you what happens when the system completely breaks down. That's called hyperinflation. And it's what happens when inflation doesn't just rise, it runs completely out of control. In Zimbabwe in 2008, inflation reached 89.7 sextillion% per month. That's a number so big it doesn't even feel real. But here's what it looked like in real life. People would go to buy a loaf of bread in the morning, and by the time they got to the checkout, the price had changed twice. Workers were paid multiple times a day so they could spend their wages before those wages became worthless. People literally needed wheelbarrows full of cash to buy groceries. The money was so worthless that some Zimbabweans used banknotes as wallpaper because the paper itself had more value as decoration than as currency. In Venezuela in the 2010s, the same thing happened. Shelves emptied. People lost their entire life savings overnight, not because someone stole it, but because the currency it was stored in evaporated in value. Now, could this happen in America? Economists are divided. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency, which gives it a level of protection most other currencies don't have. Not an invincible shield, it's a buffer, and buffers have limits. The reason we show you hyperinflation is not to scare you. It's to show you what's at stake when inflation is left unchecked. It's to make the lesson hit home. Inflation is not a minor inconvenience. Managed badly, it can erase the financial foundation of an entire country. Hyperinflation is what happens when trust in money collapses. It's extreme, but it's real, and it's why controlling inflation matters so much. So if inflation can do all of this, destroy savings, crush the poor, collapse entire economies, who's responsible for stopping it? And what weapon do they actually use? Because there is a weapon. And when the Federal Reserve fires it, every single American feels it, whether they know it or not. Some of them feel it in their mortgage, some in their car payment, some in their job. When inflation gets out of hand, the main organization responsible for fighting it in America is the Federal Reserve, also called the Fed. Think of the Fed as the thermostat of the US economy. Its job is to keep the temperature just right, not too hot, not too cold. When inflation spikes, the economy is running too hot, too much spending, too much money chasing too few goods. The Fed's job is to cool it down. And its main tool for doing that? Interest rates. Here's how it works. When the Fed raises interest rates, borrowing money gets more expensive. Mortgages cost more. Car loans cost more. Business loans cost more. Credit cards get even more brutal. So what happens? People borrow less. They spend less. Businesses invest less. Demand cools down. And when demand cools, prices stop rising as fast. Inflation slows. Picture a pot of water boiling on a stove. The boiling water is inflation. Too much heat, too much activity. The Fed raising interest rates is like turning down the burner. The water doesn't stop instantly. It slows down, gradually. The bubbles settle. But, and this is the critical part, turn the burner down too fast or too far, and the water goes cold. And a cold economy means businesses stop hiring, people lose jobs, and the country can slide into a recession. This is the impossible balancing act the Fed has to perform. Turn the heat down enough to stop inflation, but not so much that you freeze the whole economy. In 2022 and 2023, the Fed raised interest rates at the fastest pace in decades. 11 rate hikes in about 18 months. It was aggressive, it was intentional, and it worked. Inflation came down significantly, but it also made mortgages more expensive, cooled the housing market, and put real financial pressure on millions of American households. The cure had side effects, as cures often do. The Fed fights inflation by making borrowing more expensive, which slows spending, cools demand, and gradually brings prices down. But the medicine has a cost. And here's where it gets complicated, because not everyone agrees that the Fed's approach is the right one. In fact, this is one of the most heated debates in modern economics. Let's hear the room. The hawk, aggressive rate hiker. You have to kill inflation fast and decisively. Every month you let it run is another month it gets baked into wages, rents, and expectations. Once people expect high inflation, it becomes self-fulfilling. You have to be brutal early. The short-term pain is worth it. The dove, protect the workers first. Raising rates at this speed is reckless. Every time rates go up, working-class families pay the price. Higher mortgage rates, tighter credit, layoffs. Inflation hurts the poor, but aggressive rate hikes also hurt the poor. We're squeezing the same people twice and calling it a cure. The supply-side economist. The Fed is fighting the wrong fire. This inflation wasn't caused by too much demand. It was caused by broken supply chains. You don't fix a supply problem by strangling demand. You fix it by investing in production, infrastructure, and domestic manufacturing. Rate hikes are a blunt instrument applied to a surgical problem. The behavioral economist. The most underestimated factor in all of this is expectations. If people believe inflation will stay high, they demand higher wages. Higher wages push up costs. Higher costs push up prices. It becomes a cycle that feeds itself, completely independent of what the Fed does. Managing public belief is just as important as managing the money supply. 4 brilliant people, 4 completely different diagnoses for the same patient. The hawk says hit it hard and fast. The dove says protect the people. The supply sider says you're fixing the wrong thing. The behavioralist says the battle is psychological. There's no clean answer here, and that's the honest truth. Inflation is fought by human beings making imperfect decisions in real time with incomplete information. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they overcorrect, and ordinary people live with the consequences either way. The experts disagree on how to fight inflation because every tool has a cost, and that cost is always paid by real people. Okay, so governments use interest rates. Central banks make trillion-dollar decisions. Experts argue in conference rooms. That's all fascinating. But what about you? What about the person watching this right now, trying to figure out how to make their paycheck last the whole month? Here's the good news, and I mean genuinely good news. You are not powerless, not even close. You can't stop inflation, but you can make sure it hurts you less than it hurts the person who doesn't know what you now know. Here's how. Move 1. Don't let cash sit idle. Cash sitting in a regular checking account earns almost nothing, and while it sits there doing nothing, inflation is eating it alive. Every year, money that earns 0% in a world with 4% inflation loses 4% of its purchasing power. Your $10,000 becomes the equivalent of $9,600 in buying power. You didn't spend anything. Inflation spent it for you. The fix? High-yield savings accounts. In 2023 and 2024, many online banks in America were offering 4 to 5% APY, meaning your savings could at least keep pace with inflation or come close. It's not a get-rich tool, but it's the difference between your money treading water and silently drowning. Move 2. Understand what you own and what you owe. Inflation treats borrowers and savers very differently. If you have a fixed-rate loan, a mortgage, a student loan, a car payment, inflation is actually working in your favor. You locked in a payment amount that stays the same while the dollar slowly gets weaker. Your $1,200 mortgage payment in 2020 buys less in 2025 real terms, which means your debt is effectively shrinking in real value over time. But variable rate debt, like credit cards or adjustable rate mortgages, is the opposite. When inflation rises, the Fed raises rates and your variable debt gets more expensive. That's the danger zone. Pay it down as aggressively as you can. Every dollar of high-interest variable debt you carry is a door left open for inflation to walk through. Move 3. Buy things that tend to keep pace with inflation. Remember the person with assets who did better during inflation? Their secret wasn't luck. It was that they owned things whose value rises with prices. Real estate, stocks, commodities. Now, you don't need to be wealthy to start doing this. Index funds and ETFs give ordinary people access to a broad basket of stocks that, historically, have outpaced inflation over the long run. You don't need thousands of dollars to start. Many platforms let you begin with as little as $1. Think of it this way. $1 under your mattress is a melting ice cube. $1 invested in a diversified fund is a seed. One shrinks. One has a chance to grow. Move 4. Audit your spending ruthlessly. When inflation rises, your budget needs a review. Not because you did something wrong, but because the numbers changed and your plan needs to change with them. Go through your subscriptions, your regular purchases, your habits. Ask one question about each one. Is this still worth what it costs me right now? Not what it cost 6 months ago, right now. This is not about cutting everything. It's about being intentional. Inflation already made the decision for you on some things. Your job is to make the decision on the others before inflation makes it for you. You can't stop inflation, but you can refuse to be its easiest target. Move your cash, understand your debt, invest in things that grow, and audit your budget like it's your job, because right now it is. Remember that grocery run from the beginning? Same cart, same items, $40 more than last month. That moment used to feel random, frustrating, confusing, like the world was working against you for no reason. Now you know it's not random. It has a name, it has causes, it has patterns, and, most importantly, it has responses. Here's everything we covered today. Inflation doesn't live in economics textbooks. It lives in your grocery cart, your gas tank, your rent, and your paycheck. It doesn't hit everyone equally. The less you have, the harder it lands. When it gets out of control, it can destroy entire economies, as Zimbabwe and Venezuela showed us. The Federal Reserve fights it with interest rates, like turning down a burner on a boiling pot. But the experts fiercely disagree on whether that's the right move, or whether the cure is hurting the same people the disease was already hurting. And you are not powerless. Move your idle cash, understand your debt, start investing in things that grow, audit your spending before inflation audits it for you. Inflation is always running. The question is whether you're running with it, or just standing still while it laps you. If this video hit different, if something in here finally made sense in a way it never did before, hit that like button. It takes 1 second and it means a lot. Subscribe to Pennywise Planning. Every video on this channel is built the same way. No jargon, no fluff, no talking down to you. Just money explained the way it should have been explained a long time ago. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Which part hit home the most? The grocery cart? The inequality angle? The hyperinflation? Tell me, let's have that conversation. And if you want to go deeper, our next video breaks down compound interest. The same force that grows your investments also grows your debt. You need to understand which side of it you're on. It's already on the channel. Go watch it now.